So I already wrote the code for the game and I'm going to explain to you what was done. So at first we created a player class. The player class has a few attributes. Each player will have a name, every player will have an age, and also they'll have a gender. So at first we define a constructor. How do we construct a player? So as you can see, I've actually done an example of overloading where you can define a player when you're creating a new player object. You can use this constructor where you can just use the name and the age and a player will be created. Or you can also use this constructor where you'll input the name, age, and the gender to create a player. So these two are constructors. This is the attribute. This is the behavior or the method or the ability, right? So every player has an ability to roll a die, right? So what happens when they roll the die? This expression is not something that you need to understand fully. It's totally fine. What this expression is really doing is just selecting a number randomly between 1 and 6. So when we roll a die, we do not know what number would come up, right? So it has to be random in nature. That is why I'm using a math.random function and using it in a way so that we get random numbers from 1 to 6. So whenever a player rolls, any number from 1 to 6 randomly shows up. So that is the ability that every player has. Great. So a player has some attributes. A player has a constructor using which you can create player objects. And every player has the ability to roll a number randomly between 1 and 6. Going to the main method, here we've created two player objects. The first player's name is Alice, age is 20, gender is female. And the second player object that we've created, we named it John. The player's name is John as well, age is 25, and gender is male. Great. So our two objects have been created. Now they can start playing the game. At first, we create a couple of variables, the total for Alice and the total for John. And then we also create two other variables, which are the current roll for John and Alice. So this is the total that we were calculating in the table, and this is the number that they were getting on each roll of the die, right? So these are the variables that we initiate at 0. Great. And then we create a while loop, and we check whether or not the total for Alice is less than 10, or whether or not the total for John is less than 10. We use the AND operator because we want both of them to be true in order to continue the game. If any one of this is false, means if any one, Alice or John, goes above 10, that means the game needs to stop. So we keep the while loop going while both of their totals are less than 10. Once the totals go above 10, the loop ends and the game also ends. So the loop starts here and the loop ends here. All right, great. So now at first Alice rolls, and you'll see that roll has an integer return type. So it is returning us an integer when we call this method. Great. So Alice.roll calls the roll method for Alice object, and whatever number comes up goes into the current roll variable. And then John object does its own roll, and whatever number comes up goes into the John current roll variable. We then print out what these are because we want to know what they've rolled, right? So we just print it out on our console, and this is printing those two numbers out, and that's it. After that, we add this roll to the total that they have. So in the very beginning, let's say Alice rolls and rolls a 5, and then John rolls and John rolls, let's say, a 1. So we print this out that Alice rolled a 5 and John rolled a 1, and then we take the Alice total variable and add 5 to Alice total. So Alice total was 0 first, Alice current roll is 5, 5 plus 0 becomes 5, and so 5 is now stored in Alice total. In the same way, John total was 0, John's current roll is 1, let's say, and then John's total before was 0, so 1 plus 0 becomes 1, so John's total is 1. So remember, John's total is 1, and Alice's total is 5 at this point. It goes back here and sees whether or not Alice's total is less than 10. Alice's total is now 5. It is less than 10, so this is true. John's total is less than 10 as well, because John's total is 1, right? So both of them are true. And if both of them are true and we use the AND operator, then this whole thing comes out to be true. And that means the while loop will continue. Great. So Alice's current role is again assigned a new value because Alice rolls again, right? So Alice rolls again. Whatever number comes up goes into the variable Alice roll. John rolls again. Whatever number comes up goes into the variable John's current roll. We printed out Alice rolled whatever number and John rolled whatever number. So let's say John rolled a 2 and Alice rolled another 5, right? So we'll say Alice rolled a 5 and John rolled a 2. Previously, Alice's total was 5, John's roll was 1. But now, when we add Alice's current roll 5 with Alice's previous total 5, Alice becomes 10. And John's previous roll was 1, and currently John's roll is 2. So 1 plus 2 becomes 3. So John's roll is 3, Alice's roll is 10. Alice has won the game already, right? But the loop hasn't ended yet. Let's see what happens. It goes back here. Alice's total is 10. It's less than 10, and that is not true. 10 is equal to 10. 10 is not less than 10. So this becomes false. It doesn't matter what this is. This whole thing would become false because we're using the AND operator. And when this whole thing becomes false, the while loop ends. It comes here. And then it sees whether or not Alice's total is less than 10 or greater than 10. If Alice's total is greater than 10, it would print out Alice won the game. But if John's total is greater than 10, then it would print out John has won the game. So let's run this program and see a game or two. Great, so it seems like Alice won the first game. Alice rolled a 5 first and John also rolled a 5. So their total was 5. And then Alice rolled another 5 and John rolled a 1. So Alice's total became 10, John's total was 6, so Alice won the game. Let's play the game again and see what happens in the next game. Well, it seems now John has won the game. So at first, Alice rolled 5 and John rolled a 2. So Alice's total is 5, John's total is 2. Alice rolled a 3, Alice's total becomes 8. John rolls a 5, John's total becomes 7. And then Alice rolls a 1, and the total becomes 9. And John rolls a 3, at which point the total becomes 10 for John. And so John won the game. So this is a very simple simulation of a game, and we used the concepts of class and objects to create the players and simulate a game between them. So I know when I was explaining this whole thing, I went really fast. It would really help if you pause the video, look at the code, and actually try to understand what's going on because it's pretty simple and very easy. And if you understand this, this will really help you solidify your concepts of objects and classes. Maybe you can make your own game where the players are not necessarily controlled by a program, but they can be actual human players. It'll be a bit difficult at first, but if you give it a shot, you'll learn a lot. So why not, right? In the next video, we'll talk about passing by value and passing by reference. See you in the next video.